Okay, so we're on page 2 of Haven. We're done with page 1. He was here finally, and she could relax and enjoy his company. He'd adopted the Rockhaven style of dress, complete with fitted trousers and shorter vests. Shows off his thighs nicely. Okay, that's good. So that's the internal monologue. He was here finally. She'd been waiting for him for a long time. And she could relax now and enjoy his company. He'd adopted the Rockhaven style of dress, complete with fitted trousers and shorter vests. Shows off his thighs. Good. Okay, this is good. I don't think I need to do anything there. It's fine. She retrieved a bottle and glasses from the cabinet. A stallion brandy. He accepted his, turning it in the glow lights with an expert eye. A new product? There is a demand for it. He accepted his, so presumably that's his glass of the brandy. But it kind of caught me by surprise because we saw her taking the bottle and the glasses out, but we didn't see her pouring it. And suddenly he's accepting his glass, so that threw me for just a tiny bit of a second. I think there's something missing here. We have to kind of show her pouring it. That would be nice. Also, this is a little bit static. We can make it more dynamic. We can use an action tag. I mean, this is an action tag. She's doing something, but we can make it more so. And it's nice to have a bit of detail. I don't know whether you do store brandy in a wine cabinet, but just saying cabinet makes me think of a kitchen cabinet, so I'm going to put wine cabinet. Hopefully Rebecca will like it. How about showing her actually moving towards the wine cabinet and then taking out the bottle and glasses? And here, I almost see her angling the bottle at him to show him the label. Let's see if we can do that. Just as a suggestion. She went over to the wine cabinet. Now, went is actually not a good verb. It's quite weak. I don't want her sashaying over to the cabinet, but she is about to flirt with him. I think that's coming. So something. Now she's wearing a silk robe. Remember? She's wearing a silk robe. How about she swept over to the wine cabinet? How about she drifted over to the wine cabinet? Something like that. And retrieved the bottle and glasses. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh, but I need to say that if she pours him a glass of brandy, and we don't want to repeat. She drifted over to the wine cabinet and retrieved a bottle, angling it to show him the label. How about that? To retrieve a bottle angling it to show him the label. Now I must feel like he's the one who would say this. Because here she's saying it, it's almost like she's trying to impress him maybe a little bit. Well, she's definitely trying to make him stay, right? So I kind of feel like this should be his line. He accepted the glass, maybe. He accepted the glass she poured for him. Yes, in that case, then we don't have to mention glasses here, right? We just have to mention the bottle. The bottle and the label. She drifted over to the wine cabinet to retrieve her bottle, angling it to show him the label, and then he's the one who recognizes it. He accepted the glass she poured for him, turning it in the glow light with an expert eye. Right, okay, so he has an expert eye, so he would know, right? And also because the business partners, I would think instead of saying something like this, maybe he'll say something like, how about the real thing? Okay, let's see. She drifted over to the wine cabinet to retrieve a bottle, angling it to show him the label. The stallion brandy. So I almost imagine he's sounding impressed that she managed to get it. And then when he looks at it with his expert eye, he can tell it's a real thing, not a question mark, because he's an expert. And he would sound impressed. And maybe instead of saying that, she could say something that shows that she knew that he liked it, and that's why she got it. Something like that. Okay, let's see. She drifted over to the wine cabinet to retrieve a bottle, angling it to show him the label. A stallion brandy. He accepted the glass she poured for him, turning it in the glow light with an expert eye. Yeah, so we're mentioning the glass and her pouring the brandy for him. Okay. Okay, moving on. His aura never opened. In the years she had known him, neither anger nor joy had ever cracked his iron shields, so she'd learned to read his face. She knew he approved before he nodded. Okay, this is good, but this one kind of made me think that his aura would open. So maybe this can come later, so we know that the point of this is that she had to read his face. Here, his aura never opened. How about here instead? His aura had never opened. Neither anger nor joy had ever cracked his iron shields, so she'd learned to read his face. Yes. So this is a backstory, right? In the years she'd known him, she'd learned to read his face. So these two have some history between them. She knew he approved before he nodded. This is, really nicely done. Very few words. And there's so much unsaid, unspoken, right? This is really nice. She knew he approved before he nodded. Right, that's good. She gave him an overview of their interest in Calagria and the currents in Ilarian politics as they drank. And there is a rebellion fomenting in Behan, but we can cover that tomorrow. We can cover that. We can talk more about it. We can talk more about that, or maybe even we can discuss that tomorrow. Cover is fine, but we can cover that. I think maybe discuss would be better. You gave him a review of the interest. Now there's three proper names, place names, and they will trip a reader up. They're tripping me up. But it's good. Of course, Rebecca's flashes are just, the tip of the iceberg of her main series, her other stories. So here she's giving us some glimpses of her very complex and well-built world, Calagria. Actually, I don't mind these at all. Now, I did say at the very beginning that tripped me up, and I made her change. Oh, she did change the spelling, but that's because it's first line. That's so important. You really don't want a reader tripping over the first line. But by the time we get to the second page, I think she has the reader firmly in her grip, and I think that might be okay, even though there's three. Okay, and there's a rebellion fermenting in Bahan, but we can cover that tomorrow. We can discuss that tomorrow. He stood with a final nod and retrieved his hat from the side table. He stood with a final nod. How about with a final nod, he rose. Because he stood is more static. Rising implies motion, right? So that's more dynamic. So you always want to make your prose more dynamic. With a final nod, he rose and retrieved his hat from the side table. It's good. At dinner? Now the gamble. So she's getting nervous. You can sense that. It's really good. Her prepared words stuck in her throat. She could leave it, let everything proceed as usual, but she'd never been one to run from risks. I'm not sure about this sentence. It's kind of long and not that smooth. If you could leave it, let everything proceed as usual. Do we need this? Because that says the same thing but better. Maybe we don't need this. And by losing it, we get, she could let everything proceed as usual. Same meaning, we preserve the meaning, and it's smoother, but she'd never been one to run from risks. To run from risks. How about using avoid here? So, if you can use one word to replace two or more, then, you want to try doing that. See if it works. She could let everything proceed as usual, but she'd never been one to avoid risks. Okay, that's up to Rebecca. I kind of like it. She'd never hazarded so much of herself before. What if he laughed or pulled away? Oh, that's very good. This gives us so much insight. Into who she is. She's brave, but not with everything. And this shows her vulnerability. You see that? What if he laughed or pulled away? She would be devastated. So you're reading between the lines here. This is beautiful. This is beautifully done. So this is a brave woman who never runs from risks, and yet she's nervous, she's anxious. This shows her vulnerability so well. This is very nicely done. I like it. It shows depth of character. In so few words, we see the depth of her character. I have guest rooms. Alora's voice wavered. She took a deep breath. In a private bathing courtyard, stay and we can discuss it at brunch. Okay, I'm not crazy about this. It probably isn't, but it sounds to me like a more modern word. I'd probably look it up, the etymology and find out more about it. You can discuss it at brunch. I'll probably just use breakfast. Or just say we'll discuss it the next morning, tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning's. So she knows she wants him to stay overnight. Yes, she does. Tomorrow morning. Now, this is something else. If he's her business partner, he would know this, right? And he would know this. How about just saying, you're welcome to stay in, one of our guest rooms and make the most of the private bathing courtyard. Yeah? Okay, how about something like that? The guest rooms. Make use of. Who wouldn't want to make use of a private bathing courtyard? Make good use. Make good use of the private bathing courtyard. I don't even think we need the word private. He would know, right? I mean, it's not like she'd want him to bathe in public. I have guest rooms. You're welcome to stay in one of our guest rooms. One of the guest rooms. He already know there are guest rooms. Her voice wavered. She took a deep breath. You see the vulnerability showing here? So beautifully done. And make use of the bathing courtyard. Stay, and we can discuss it tomorrow morning. Stay. And I feel like I want to calm her here. Stay. She's asking him to stay. And she's not sure. Marahu hesitated, turning his hat in his hands and looking down. Her confidence in reading his expressions faltered. Oh, how nice is that? That's so beautiful. He hesitated, turning his hat in his hands and looking down. Her confidence in reading his expressions faltered. Was he preparing to disappoint her or surprised at her offer? Was he preparing to disappoint her? Or surprised at her offer? Yes. Very nice. He so rarely looked uncertain, but the glimpse of vulnerability encouraged her. Well, that's a beautiful paragraph. I like that a lot. He hesitated, turning his hat in his hands and looking down. Her confidence in reading his expressions faltered. Yeah. So we see his vulnerability and we see hers. Was he preparing to disappoint her? That would be devastating. Or merely surprised? In which case, she's okay. Right? At her offer. He so rarely looked uncertain, but the glimpse of vulnerability encouraged her. Very nice. Okay.